people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. It's official. Friday the 18th in August, late summer, on the undercard of McCann versus Beluta, unbeaten up-and-comer in the women's featherweight division, Raven Chapman.
She will be returning to action against an opponent that has yet to be announced.
Raven Chapman, who some time ago stated she aspired to get in the ring with Amanda Serrano in the future, the near future, though I hardly think it will be Amanda she ends up fighting in August.
Oh, Amanda's supposed to be fighting Heather Hardy for the second time on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz.
Raven Chapman, one of my favorite featherweights in today's women's featherweight division, aside from Amanda Serrano. Raven.
Those are my two favorites, Raven and Amanda.
Raven, who sports a professional record of 6 wins with no losses, no draws, 2 knockouts, a mid-range to inside pressure fighter, an athletic one, a strong one.
Some unbeaten up-and-comers need a little bit more seasoning in the pro ranks to better develop a pro style than some others. You know, you see a fighter like Sky Nicholson, who was a great amateur, but as a professional, there really is more work needs doing.
She needs more time and more fights to develop a more pro style. Raven's already there. She's already got a great pro style.
In a division full of great unbeaten up-and-comers like Sky Nicholson, Karis Ardingstall, Sophie Elish, Sarah Liegman, Ebony Jones.
Raven Chapman, at least for me and my money, Raven Chapman really stands out. And to me, she's got one of the higher ceilings of all these
all the unbeaten up-and-comers in the women's featherweight division. Raven Chapman, for me and my money, really stands out, having last seen action in March of this year.
Raven debuted as a professional in September of 2021. She fought 2 times that year.
3 times last year.
3 times. 2 of the 3 fights were fought under the Queensberry Promotions banner, and one of them was over there in the Far East, the Middle East, somewhere over there, some promotion.
One of the nuances of Raven Chapman's existing deal with Queensberry Promotions is that she has the autonomy to fight on other shows with other promotional outfits. That's how she was able to do that.
Which gives Raven Chapman the opportunity to fight under different promotional banners depending on what the opportunities are. That she's not limited to just boxing on Queensberry Promotions shows, even though she is a Queensberry Promotions fighter. Though given the ceiling that Raven Chapman has and that she's already there, she's already got a great pro style. I hardly think anybody wants to put their unbeaten up-and-comer in there with her straight away.
Voluntarily?
Raven actually has the autonomy to cross over to a Sky Sports or cross over to a DAZN for a fight with some unbeaten up-and-comer. The question is, who'd want to put their unbeaten up-and-comer in there with Raven? She'll kill them.
She's vicious.
Raven Chapman, who last saw action earlier this year in March, this upcoming fight in August will be her second fight of this year, and if she is successful, there's still plenty of room left in the year for a third fight.
I don't know who Raven is fighting yet.
Some fights that I would like to see Raven Chapman in is perhaps a fight with former IBF featherweight champion Sarah Mahfoud of Denmark. Sarah Mahfoud, who's already seen action this year.
It's a good step-up fight for Raven. Or former WBA champion of Mexico, Erica Cruz.
Pressure fighter versus pressure fighter. That's what that would be. Erica's a pressure fighter, and so is Raven.
Makes for a great fight.
Or a fight with Germany's own Nina Menke, crafty southpaw, experienced veteran, been around the block once or twice.
Good experience fight.
There are lots of opportunities out there for Raven Chapman, not exclusive to the other unbeaten up-and-comers at this weight. Fights that probably will happen later on down the line when those fighters have amassed more experience. There are other fights that Raven can have. Experience fights and learning fights. Step-up fights.
The beauty of 126 pounds, even though there's only one reigning champion at the weight, Amanda Serrano, it's a talent-rich division. It's a division that actually has depth.
So you can mix and match the names any which way and you'll get a good fight every single time. I look forward to finding out who exactly Raven's going to be fighting in August, and beyond that, there are plenty, and I mean plenty, of fights to make. We'll keep you posted. In men's heavyweight news, per a tweet from Michael Benson, Eddie Hearn has now confirmed that the Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte rematch will not be happening next, with talks ongoing for AJ to fight another heavyweight on August 12th. Agit Kabayel is one possibility. Hearn denied rumors that Whyte demanded 10 million pounds.
It's been the talk around the town that the reason the rematch is once again not happening
It's money.
Yeah.
They can't agree on the money, that Dillian Whyte wants a certain dollar amount, and it's more than Anthony Joshua is willing to give up to him.
Perhaps it's not 10 million exactly that Dillian Whyte is looking for, though whatever it is, they just can't agree on it.
I wasn't excited about the rematch. I wasn't excited about a second fight. I understood the function of the fight.
That Anthony Joshua is just looking to keep busy over the summer months en route to a Deontay Wilder mega fight towards the end of the year. So I get it.
I understand you don't want to throw caution to the wind and put Anthony in there with just anybody if the focus is to put him in the ring with Deontay later on this year. But even with that, Dillian Whyte.
I wasn't excited to see that. I wasn't.
Now the story is that Jarrell Miller, unbeaten Jarrell Miller, who Anthony Joshua was supposed to fight some years ago, now the story is that he may be offered the fight since things aren't working out with Dillian.
You know, I said it a couple of weeks ago when I saw Jarrell Miller in action opposite the ring, Lucas Brown, that this guy, he's still got a mouth, and because he's got a mouth, he can still sell a fight.
Joshua versus Miller, whether you like it or not, puts asses in the seats, and Jarrell Miller is set to be offered as a replacement opponent for Anthony Joshua after talks for a Dillian Whyte rematch broke down. The American heavyweight tested positive for banned substances in 2019, which ended plans for a New York fight, but Miller's promoter Dimitri Salita has confirmed he is going to put forward Miller again as a potential fight for Joshua.
Well, I wonder how Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua are going to feel about that.
Looking through it through an objective lens, I firmly believe you can still put a lot of asses in a lot of seats with a Joshua versus Miller fight. The backstory and the bad blood, it's all there, but how receptive would Anthony be to a fight like that, and how receptive would Eddie Hearn be?
In spite of the Dillian Whyte fight's collapse, Joshua is still expected to return to the ring at the O2 on August 12th.
There was some mention of an Agit Kabayel fight. Agit Kabayel, an unbeaten guy like Jarrell Miller is an unbeaten guy, but he ain't got anywhere near as much personality.
Trickier base style, too. He's got some speed in those hands and some speed in those legs. He's more of a mover than a puncher.
Being honest, his quality of competition really is no better than Jarrell Miller's. It's nothing to write home about, though they are two unbeaten guys, two guys whose O's are intact, but I feel like a Miller fight is much easier to sell.
For all the same reasons that the Dillian Whyte fight was so successful so many years ago.
So many years later, the rematch has once again fallen through. Dillian Whyte said, I don't think that they're serious about the fight. They're worrying about the fight, and I don't blame them. If he's going to get 50 million pounds to fight Wilder in Saudi in December, it just baffles me. Why would they take a chance fighting me? It doesn't make sense, so I'm not surprised, to be honest.
That's what Dillian had to say about it, though for me and my money, Dillian Whyte would be a safer choice than some other choices that are out there, because Anthony wouldn't be in unfamiliar territory with Dillian, and we all know Dillian's a sucker for an uppercut.
Anthony's got one. That's how he stopped in the last time. He's still got one here today. A lot has changed since Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte fought for the first time. You know, Anthony was being trained by Rob McCracken in those days.
With Derek James now.
Dillian Whyte spent some time with Mark Tibbs. Then he went from Mark Tibbs to Buddy McGirt, who's currently training him.
A lot of years have passed since they initially met.
Though being honest with you, given how the fight initially ended, with a big knockout win for Anthony Joshua, in spite of the bad blood and the history they have, I don't really feel like they have unfinished business. I feel like all those years ago, Anthony finished it.
It's done.
I'll take a Jarrell Miller fight, I'd take that, but would Anthony Joshua, would Eddie Hearn, the prospect of having to work with that guy again?
I think they'd really do that.
Dimitri Salita says he wants to put Jarrell in there with Anthony Joshua. He's going to present these guys with that name. Dimitri Salita, who's been doing a bit of business with Matchroom as of late, Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah.
That's a Dimitri Salita Promotions fighter.
So's Jarrell Miller.
You know what I think?
What?
If he presents Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn with the name of Jarrell Miller, and they are not receptive to that fight, what I could then go for is a Miller versus Whyte fight. I don't think Dillian Whyte would have any aversions to boxing Jarrell Miller. He needs a fight. He needs a name.
You could sell that.
I think the trash talking and the buildup of the fight would be great. I think you could really sell that.
Whyte versus Miller.
I understand that Jarrell Miller has tested positive for banned substances more than once, but these days, who hasn't?
Anybody from from Canelo Alvarez to Tyson Fury to Conor Ben.
To Amir Khan, I'm not too good to admit that if you put Jarrell Miller in the ring with either Anthony Joshua or Dillian Whyte, I'd watch it.
I would.
Feel like there's an opportunity there for Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, who is now being trained by Derek James.
Based out of Texas now.
Derek James says that you're going to see a different guy. A different Anthony Joshua.
Hopefully a more spiteful one.
I don't quit until my guys get it, James said of his work ethic in an interview with ES News. If there's something that I think is significant, then I'm going to keep pushing, keep working until they get it. If they don't get it, I'm going to keep on pushing. If they don't get it, I'll take the fault. People talk about Anthony Joshua not looking good in the Franklin fight. He fought the fight that I wanted him to fight. I know you may think something else, but he fought the fight that I wanted him to be prepared to fight. The more time you get together, you'll see a different guy. I want to make sure we get everything down. He won every round in the Franklin fight.
Yeah, some people weren't really impressed with what they saw in Anthony in the Jermaine Franklin fight. To say that he didn't look good isn't exactly true.
He won most every round in the Jermaine Franklin fight, you understand. He was never in trouble. He was never in danger of losing that fight, and he was never hurt throughout the course of it. So it's not necessarily that he did bad or performed bad.
They just want the puncher back. They want a more spiteful Anthony Joshua that isn't tentative, that believes in his power and goes for the knockout.
I want to see the Anthony Joshua that battered Dominic Breazeale, the Anthony Joshua that knocked out Dillian Whyte and knocked out Vladimir Klitschko. They want to see the return of that Anthony Joshua. Now, Derek James says
You'll see a different guy.
the more time those two spend working together, the more likely it is that you'll start to see a different guy. And I agree with that. Rome wasn't built in a day after all. I don't expect Anthony Joshua to turn into a completely different fighter after just one camp with Derek James.
No.
Substantial change. It does take time.
That's the purpose that this August fight date services ahead of a major fight towards the end of the year. This gives Derek and Anthony another chance to get out there under the hot lights, continue to work on things.
Wouldn't mind seeing them get out there against Jarrell Miller.
If what people want is for Anthony to go back to being a spiteful puncher, a knockout merchant, I just feel like Jarrell Miller, given all his trash talk, he could bring that out of Anthony.
Before he costed himself the Anthony Joshua fight with all those banned substances they found in his system, it really looked like Jarrell was getting under Anthony Joshua's skin. He was really getting a rise out of that guy.
I think he still can.
So it might be a tall ask for Eddie Hearn to go back into business with this guy after everything has happened and all the hard feelings. I know Jarrell Miller still wants the Joshua fight.
That's what he's been saying.
But does Anthony Joshua really want to give this guy the time of day?
It's all intended to be a stay busy fight until such time as Anthony can climb in the ring with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder.
Trainer Malik Scotch stated that Wilder could end up fighting Andy Ruiz before Anthony Joshua in Saudi Arabia in December. It's looking like that may be the route that we end up going. Andy Ruiz is definitely one of the main options right now.
Remember that the WBC ordered this thing months ago?
And remember that, initially, at least initially, it looked a lot like PBC and Showtime were going to be bankrolling this thing. Then rumors and rumblings started about them not being able to satisfy the fighters' financial demands. They couldn't pay these guys the way they wanted them to get paid. Now the story is that Deontay Wilder is set to join Saudi Arabia's Skills Challenge Promotions, and Devin Haney may be joining him.
If anybody can pay Deontay Wilder the way he wants to get paid at this point, it's the Saudis.
An upstart in Saudi Arabia continues to beef up its presence in boxing. Their latest gambit could involve contractual rights on one of the biggest heavyweight punchers of the last decade, Deontay Wilder. The former heavyweight titleist from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, has reportedly agreed to terms with Skills Challenge Promotions, a new promotional entity based in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, according to a report by Declan Warrington of Pro Box TV.
This rumor's been out for about 2 or 3 days now.
But it hasn't been confirmed, not yet. No official announcement has been made of Deontay Wilder joining Skills Challenge like the official announcement they made some time ago in reference to Usyk.
When they signed him.
And they still have every intention of staging the Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury undisputed title fight. They still have intentions of doing that.
Looks like they're beefing up their stable. They want to sign Deontay Wilder. They want to sign Devin Haney.
If they do end up signing Deontay Wilder, and that official announcement is made, I think that pretty much heralds the end of Deontay Wilder's tenure at Showtime and the PBC. Moving forward, forward, I don't think they'd be involved in Wilder's career anymore.
What about Devin?
The same report also suggested that Devin Haney, the undisputed lightweight champion who is coming off of a successful defense of his titles with a win over Vasyl Lomachenko last month in New York, is on the verge of signing with the company as well. An official announcement is reportedly forthcoming later this week. When reached by BoxingScene.com, Shelley Finkel, the longtime manager of Wilder, declined to comment at this point. Skills Challenge made news earlier this year after reports surfaced that the company was trying to put together a heavyweight bonanza in December featuring on a single card Wilder and Anthony Joshua in one contest and WBC titleist Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk in another.
I'm not confident Tyson Fury's gonna fight Usyk, but you guys already know that.
Skills Challenge sent a strong signal of its intentions to the industry when it signed Ukraine's Usyk to an agreement earlier this month. Usyk joins a roster that includes current cruiserweight titleist Badu Jack. Usyk is scheduled to fight London's Daniel Dubois later this summer in Poland. Not much is known about Skills Challenge, but it is headed by former kickboxing champion Amir Abdallah, who answers to Prince Khalid bin Abdulaziz, the company's founder.
So you have Malik Scott saying that Andy Ruiz is in the running for Deontay Wilder's next fight, and you have initial reports, preliminary reports, indicating that Wilder may have already signed to Skills Challenge.
If all that intel checks out, what that essentially means is that Skills Challenge will helm the promotion for a Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz fight. And in truth, I don't think Andy Ruiz really jeopardizes a potential Anthony Joshua fight in December.
Would be the broadcaster for that fight, though.
Amir Abdallah had to push back against claims that his company is under the shadow influence of Daniel Kinahan, the alleged Irish cartel boss who resides in Dubai. Abdallah famously posted a picture on his social media last year announcing a partnership with Kinahan, whom he referred to as his brother. Recently, Abdallah stated that he promptly severed ties with Kinahan after the U.S. government put up a wanted poster of Kinahan and several of his associates. Abdallah has hinted at taking legal action against anyone that insinuates Kinahan is still involved with his operations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect anybody to openly do business with Daniel Kinahan at this point, irrespective of what they tell the media.
We'll never know. As far as Deontay Wilder and a potential Andy Ruiz fight, I don't think Andy really jeopardizes a Joshua fight later on this year because stylistically, he's tailor-made for Deontay Wilder. If he can get mid-range to inside, that's where he's dangerous, but he's got to get there first.
Him having slow feet doesn't make that easy. Tack on Deontay Wilder's height advantage, reach advantage, his straight right hand down the pipe.
Deontay Wilder needs a fight. He's only fought for all of one round, just one round in the last 12 months. And the night of a potential Joshua fight, if it does end up going down in December,
will have been over a year's time since the Robert Helenius fight.
Deontay needs a fight, and Andy Ruiz, stylistically, he's tailor-made for Deontay Wilder.
So much about Deontay's current situation is immaterial. Has he really cut Al Heyman and the PBC out of the picture?
And if he does end up fighting Andy, who's going to be the broadcast partner?
Questions that need answers.